The Dukes of Dice are brought to you by Game Toppers, Arcane Wonders, Half Numbers, and listeners like you.
Welcome to the Duchy. It's time for another episode of the Dukes of Dice podcast, a proud member of the Dice Tower Network.
Coming to you from the Duchy in the Duke City, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the Gateway City, St. Louis, Missouri, it's The Dukes of Dice, a podcast about board, card, and occasionally role-playing games. Today, it's Dukes of Dice Improv, where the Dukes make up a show completely on the fly for reasons that will be explained shortly. And now, the Dukes of Dice.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Sean.
And also Alex. Sorry, I can't hear you too well, Sean, on phone land.
Oh, sorry.
We're improving everything today.
So, Alex, give me an occupation, give me a place, and give me an to be fitting an ice cream flavor.
Oh, I love ice cream flavors.
I know.
You get to have a pharmacist.
Okay.
You are in Bangkok, Thailand.
Okay.
And the flavor you're dealing with today is pecan praline.
Okay. Great. Here we go. Actually, no, I can't do improv.
No, you can't do improv?
No, Alex, I could. I'm sure I could. I don't think it would be good. I don't think it'd be enjoyable. I don't think it would be.
I think you've gotten practice here. Like, you've gotten some practice here. I think you could translate some of that onto a stage.
Okay, but I'm not talking. Yeah, I'm sure I'm not ready for the Groundlings or UCB or anything like that quite yet. So.
I mean, you never know until you try.
But hey, Alex, what are we doing? What is this all about? Let's tell the people what this is all about.
So I posted an episode on the Guild on Monday, and we were all set to record with the wonderful Jeremy Howard from Jambalaya Plays Games and Man vs. Meeple. And late last night, and we as of the time of this recording, still don't know exactly what's happening, but effectively, Jeremy had an emergency come up, wasn't able to record, needs to reschedule. We don't know to when he needs to reschedule, but we also didn't want to fully delay and deprive you of our wonderful voices for an extra week. Yeah. So our best thoughts with Jeremy and his family. Won't get into any details because honestly, I don't even know the details. So we figured we'd improv this on the fly, Sean.
Sure.
And who knows what we're gonna do? Who knows where this is gonna go? But to the point where we are going to do what we used to do at the very, very, very beginning of this show, which is we are going to name the episode without any help from the Guild, and we're going to see how this ultimately goes. Now, I did mention that this was completely improv in the intro. It's not 100% true, Sean. We do have somewhat of an outline, though no show notes like usual. To give folks a preview, there will be some board game discussion. There will be a little bit of board game news. And then we're going to talk about our top 3 shows that we're streaming right now. and it will be not even remotely board game related in any form or fashion. So those are the elements we have to come up with a name, Sean. And we have to show that we don't need the Guild. That the Guild number 2008, we don't need them to name episodes. We're completely self-sufficient here at the Dukes of Dice. So to that extent, to that effect.
Well, first, let me say this, Alex. So what episode number is this?
This is episode number 228.5.
Wrong. We don't do half points, Alex, on the Dukes of Dice.
Oh, no.
It's 228B.
Is this 228B? Okay.
228B.
Are you going to go back and rename the other one 228A?
No, it's just, it's fine. 228B.
Okay.
It'll
this
make
is
sense.
Episode 228B.
Yeah, so there was some thought. So, we could have just done a normal episode. We have Sorcerer City that we've got our plays in, presumably. I'm assuming you have, Alex.
I'm happy to tell you the story if you'd like, but I was going to save it for the episode.
Let's save that for when we actually do the review. So we just kind of want to wait and see what we're going to do with that, because coordinating 3 people, 3 different locations for a review game, we've done that. We've gotten the plays in. So I'd rather keep that in the hopper when we can all do it, so to speak. So episode naming suggestions, which in the past, when it was us that did it pre-Guild, we would do it off air, and we thought, hey, why deprive the people of what I'm sure is just an entertaining an entertaining exercise in futility. So, Alex, what are your thoughts for an episode title?
So I will say, I hope that we do far better than Kanban Pun, an actual Dukes of Dice episode name from the early going that you insisted at the time was brilliant, and I insisted was the dumbest thing we've ever done.
It's pretty good.
It's not. Okay. So, let's see. We have to incorporate something about plans being shifted or improv. Let's see. I mean, Night at the Duke Prov sort of was the first one that immediately popped into my mind, but it's not very good. Let's see. We could reference kind of a city crumbling almost, like Sorcerer City was going to happen, but then it fell apart. So is there some sort of fallen, like Atlantis maybe? Maybe the lost city of Duke Lantis?
What?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying, Sean.
Let me say this.
You have to incorporate Duke somewhere.
I think all of your names are terrible. I probably have nothing better. So, I mean, there's also the TV show aspect, because we're talking about TV shows. How about maybe please stand by, or stand by for technical difficulties.
Okay, maybe not the full one. Maybe not stand by for technical difficulties, but please stand by. Or how about this? We could reference Jeremy in this under all jambalaya'd up.
Okay, that seems a little aggressive.
How's that aggressive?
I don't like. Well, because it's okay. It's fine. It's fine.
It's not meant as a slight. It's just more like we have to jumble the show.
Oh, okay.
So it's all jambalaya'd up. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I wasn't like all curse worded up.
Yeah,
like that wasn't what I was implying.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, wow.
No,
okay.
I was going off of jumbled, like we're a jumbled mess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All jambalaya'd up, I think, is my favorite so far. Do you have anything? Please stand by is not bad.
Yeah, please stand by. I think that's pretty good. I also wonder though, do we need? You know how the Secret Cabal, they have the Secret Cabal Express for their shorter episodes. If we need to come up with maybe a title for that for us. Yeah. I was thinking we need a noble rank lower than Duke.
Oh.
So Barons of what's a Barons of Board Games? Oh yeah, I guess that Barons of Boards.
Barons of Boards.
Can I just say, Alex, that I'm glad we had the wisdom to start using the guild.
The lords, are lords lower than dukes? I would think they would be. Yes.
Well, lords are like a general title of nobility. It's not an actual noble rank.
Not that I can immediately, and this is dumb, but not that I can immediately come up with an L word that fits. The Lords of Ludology? Oh.
Okay. I think we're stepping on another podcast hose there.
But no, it's fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
You are now our vassals, Ludology, because we are your lords.
the vassals of Vassal.
Jeez. Okay. So do we want to end this and just go with please stand by? Please stand by.
I like all jambalaya'd up. I think that's a better name. You do.
Of
course I do. Well, can we schwazi for it?
I think there is the opportunity for misperceptions such as mine if it's simply on our title card. And without getting pre-approval from Jeremy, I'm gonna use my ducal veto.
Oh, okay, but wait, can we go down this road again of lesser titles? Because I did like this. Barons of Boards, Barons of what? What are other lesser titles?
Well, remember, Alex, we were originally supposed to be the Dukes of what was it? Dukes of Games or Dukes of Board Games? You remember?
Oh yeah, it wasn't as good. It was a lot worse. But yeah, Duke was in there.
And it was your idea. You're like, why not Dukes of Dice, dummy? Alliteration, hello. And I was like, oh man. Yeah, that's much better. Oh, shoot.
My biggest contribution to the show. Let's see. Again, lesser titles. Why can't I think of feudalism?
Why isn't feudalism just on the forefront of my mind?
Yeah. Okay. I do like calling it the Lords of Ludology.
Okay. Well. So anyway, everybody, welcome to episode 228B. Please stand by. Executive decision.
Oh, not just a ducal veto, but an executive decision.
Yeah, I'm seizing power, Alex. It's fine.
Oh no! And he has the edit too, so it's not like I can do a whole heck of a lot about this.
Exactly.
That's the one benefit you get of all of that work you've put in, which, if you added it all together, is an obscene amount of work of editing this show over the years. Yeah, that's fine. Please stand by it as Sean. We name all of our episodes except for this one, thanks to the help of our Board Game Geek Guild number 2008, and you can probably see why we might do that.
But I just need to make sure, Alex, we do have a Dukes of Dice over in our guild number 2008, like you mentioned. We do have a leaderboard of episode title namers.
Yes.
And so I'm going to need to be added to it now. So.
Okay.
Just saying.
Now, here's the question. Do we add the other, 40-ish names of episodes that we did before we started involving the other? Okay, just this one.
No, just this one. Just this one.
Okay. Now, Sean, that would take me actually updating the leaderboard, which as of the time of this episode, I might not have done in a few months. So,
Well, you have the day off, Alex, so get cracking.
Yeah, we are recording this at 11:20 my time, 10:20 your time on a Friday.
July 3rd.
July 3rd. Sean, how are you doing?
I'm doing...
How is life?
I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good. Quick Dukes of Diet update. Last time I checked in 2 weeks ago, I was 260.5, I believe. I'm currently 257.2. So down a little over 3 pounds. It was actually let's see, was it the weekend after we recorded? I think it was the weekend after we recorded. We wound up, I mentioned we were going up to Taos, which is in northern New Mexico. We're going to a little resort, getting away for a night. And so I had a cheat 2 days off of keto, which was really not worth it. The food at the resort was terrible. It was super bad. And then I gained way more than I thought I would from a day and a half of cheating. It was terrible. So there was actually kind of clawing my way back down again. Plus, when you're on keto, there's this, when you're off keto, but then go back onto keto, there's these flu-like symptoms that you get. Rarely has it affected me, but after the cheat 2 days coming back on, I felt terrible for 3 days. Like I had the flu. It was awful. So I am not cheating. Like it's not worth cheat days. It's just not worth it. But yeah, doing good. So I'm 3 pounds away from my low weight pre-COVID. So I'm working on it. So it's good. It's good.
Nice.
Working out has not been a thing. It's really, really frustrating. The gym is open. I am not going back to the gym right now. There is no way. Are you going back to are you at your CrossFit gym?
I am, yeah. And they've done a reasonably good job of keeping folks spaced, keeping doors open, things like that. I know it's not as safe as if I didn't go in the first place, but it feels as reasonably safe as you can with doing this kind of a workout, other than, say, putting everyone in their own individual little workout bubbles. But it's been nice to get back. And I will say, Sean, I think since the last time we recorded, I came off of Whole30. Did I talk about this last episode?
No, you were still on Whole30.
Yep. So I have come off of Whole30. I went from 195 pounds at the start of Whole30 down to 185 pounds by the end of Whole30. So paid off, worked well, feeling good. Gym stuff has been great. On track to meet end of year goals in a lot of fashion. So yeah, feeling good about it. Next step is to try and do a ring muscle up, which I have not ever done, mainly because I'm bad at false grip. Anyway, that's your health and wellness update from the Dukes of Dice. Sean, we don't have a ton of recent plays, or at least you don't. I have some more, but I think we can certainly save some of them. But there were a couple of things that happened to me, and I'll go first because I have two of these kinds of things. So the first thing is, Sean, if you'll recall, back in the early days, I remember playing Fiasco a couple of times with you.
Yeah, Fiasco's great.
I don't recall ever finishing a game of Fiasco because it just, if not managed properly, that game can go 150% off the rails. Just completely insane. And but I was lucky enough to be invited to join Chris Whitpan, join BJ from Board Game Gumbo, and join the formerly from Married with Board Games, Spencer and Laura, and had a ton of fun with them playing Fiasco. Playing specifically a Fiasco called Bats, where all of us were various bat people. Bat men, bat women, just bat folks. We were all living in a studio apartment. We all had very different personalities. My bat person was Wayne Bruce. He worked at an IKEA and didn't have a very good grasp on the anger part. Was very cheery and friendly. Without getting into spoilers, that may have changed over the course of the Fiasco. I will say that Wayne Bruce did end up best out of the other bat folks. I believe that, I don't know where it's posted specifically. Chris Whitpan did it on his channel. We streamed it live. It was a ton of fun. Really funny. Fiasco is a long game, though, Sean. I don't know if you recall, but this one, and by no fault of Chris or anyone, it's a 3.5 hour kind of experience. Like, you got to be puzzled in well for Fiasco. Yeah. So, and to jump back several steps and talk about what Fiasco is. Fiasco is a GM-less RPG game. It has some dice and some light mechanics, but basically those are guiding points for building a story. You start off defining things between the characters to your left and right, so you can define relationships or motivations or places or things, and then those things should, in theory, come up over the course of the story that you're telling together. You'll go around the table and everyone will get a scene, and you'll choose to either resolve a scene or you'll choose to establish a scene. If you establish a scene, you'll establish what's going to happen, who are the other characters in it, who are some of the side characters or NPCs. For instance, I made a couple of appearances in this as a very, very bad waiter. So, like, you have different folks who can come up. If you choose to establish someone else who's the director who chooses when the scene ends, gets to basically determine whether the scene ends well for you or poorly for you by giving you a red or white die. If you choose to resolve a scene, you will determine how it ends for you, whether it will be good or bad, but you will then pick someone else to determine what the scene is, and usually it's a table collaboration of figuring out what makes sense next at this point. Oh, it was a ton of fun. It was a ton of fun, Sean. It's not something I could play all the time, but it was good. It was really good. So, yeah, that was Fiasco. Got that experience in. Go check it out over on Chris Whitpan, a.k.a. Fake Jamie Kagies, various media platforms. So, yeah, that's one thing I got up to. Sean, did you get anything recent plays-wise in?
Yeah, so I'll talk really quick about my second attempt to play Newton.
Oh, boy.
If you recall, there was a first attempt last episode where we quit halfway through when we realized we had played something incredibly wrong and it was just not worthwhile. So instead, we played again this last Wednesday night on Tabletop Simulator. We started up. We almost finished the first round when Matthew's computer froze and he basically had to bow out. So we said, okay, let's save it. Let's come back to it. But then we finally agreed it's just not worth, like, we barely started the game. We hadn't done anything. It's fine. So 2 attempts to play Newton. Have not played the game in full. And it's too bad because I really like what I've seen so far and I'm kind of disappointed. I will also point out, if people recall from the last episode in which we reviewed Santa Monica, there were some comparisons to Elysium. And Alex, I'm happy to report that I did get plays of Elysium in with Raquel again. And it completely holds up. It's probably been a good year and a half, maybe more since I'd last played it. And yeah, we loved it. I do recall there kind of being an issue with 2 players. And I remember having this problem before where you don't see enough of the deck. And so you can't get all of your synergies going as well because you're just not seeing enough cards. So I was kind of thinking of ways of dealing with that, but yeah. But no, here's my new play. My new play is of a game called Pan Am, which is a Target exclusive. So if you go to Target looking for the Gloomhaven Target exclusive game, which is like a intro starter game to Gloomhaven, and it's not there because it's sold out, that's okay. Pick up Pan Am if you've got 3 or more players that you can play with right now, because it is an excellent route building game. So it is a worker placement-ish auction game route building where you are in the golden age of air travel in, the mid 20th century, I guess, if that's the golden age. And, when people still wore suits and didn't just wear pajamas and sweats onto planes, I guess. I'm thinking like Mad Men looked, whatever. So you are an airline company, I guess, and you are building airports and you're establishing routes and you're buying new planes to add to your fleet with the hopes that Pan Am is actually going to gobble them up. The object of the game is to have the most stock in Pan Am at the end of the game. There's no other companies that you're buying stock in. It's basically just every round you have the opportunity to buy Pan Am stock at whatever the current market price is. So the game plays over 7 rounds, starts off with an event each round that might give you money, take away money. It also determines what happens to Pan Am's stock value, if it goes up or down. It also determines how many times you roll the Pan Am die, which will determine how many and which routes Pan Am is going to gobble up, which is pretty interesting. Then you place out your workers. So depending on the player count, we played with 3 players, so we had 4 workers. And you place them out onto the board. And it's one of those worker placement things where you place your workers, don't resolve it immediately, and you resolve them instead in order, this action A, B, C, D, E, and then from left to right. So kind of like dominant species or bus, that style of worker placement. But it also has kind of an auction mechanic too, because most of these actions cost some amount of money. And so it's an auction like Amun-Ra or like the auction in Cyclades, where if I go to the spot to build an airport, I can choose the 0, or I think it's actually like 6 cost, and then 7 cost, and then 9 cost, or 10 cost. But someone can come above me and basically knock me out. I get my worker back and I have to place them somewhere else. So interesting worker placement, but also kind of auction element there. And so the point here again is you're building these routes. So in order to build a route, you're going to get destination cards, which it's a whole map of the world, and the destination cards will be 1/2 of a linked route. So if I have both cards, cool, I can totally lay a route if I take the route action. If I don't have the second card for one of the destinations, I can instead just completely discard a card of that matching color. Or I could have built an airport, and that counts as one of my 2 routes, or 2 endpoints for the route. Additionally, I need to have enough planes. So you start with a level 2 plane and 2 level 1 planes, and you can buy level 3s and 4s as the game progresses. And then at the end of a round, you are going to roll to see what Pan Am gobbles up. So if they gobble up your route, you are going to get paid $5 for a level 1 route. I think it's like $9 for a level 2 route and up. And it's some good money, although you lose out on income, because every route that you have gives you income. Every airport you have gives you a certain amount of income. But Pan Am gobbling up your routes is great because it gives you a big influx of cash right away. And then at the very end of the round, you have the opportunity to determine how much of the Pan Am stock you're going to buy at that particular share value. Alex, this was awesome. I this was really good. I love route building. I like auction games. Again, years ago I didn't. When I first started playing board games, got into the hobby, so to speak. Auction economic games, totally not my thing. But I really enjoyed this game quite a bit. I mean, if I were to rate this right now, it would probably be a 5. I don't think it would be a 6. but it would probably be a 5.
Wow.
It's published by Funko Games and Prospero Hall, which is they're a game design studio out of Seattle, Washington. They did Horrified and Disney Villainous and Jaws and Bob Ross. It's kind of interesting that it's not a name designer, but kind of a studio.
Yeah, creative. Yeah, it's often how a lot of other industries work, where you have the publisher and then you have kind of an agency or creative house, and it's interesting. It's interesting that's they've certainly emerged as more prominent, but cool. I had heard rumblings about this game, but had not looked to pick it up. I am going to Target this afternoon, and I may, with a lot of glares from Abby, look to scoop this up.
Yeah, I think it's not a super heavy economic game. It's not a super heavy route building game. At least it's planes and not trains. So maybe Abby will give it a shot. Maybe. She does like Ticket to Ride, so there's some openness there potentially. But I don't know. We'll see. I do know in St. Louis it could be especially popular because this used to be a major Pan Am hub, and now we are not. And the flights here aren't as good as they used to be. No international flights from St. Louis. It's a bummer. Anyway. But yeah, that's Pan Am, and if I had to do it again, I'd probably do it while drinking an old fashioned.
Ooh, good combo. Okay.
Although that's too many carbs, too much sugar. Never mind. Dang it.
All right. The last one I'm going to talk about is not, in fact, a tabletop board game at all, Sean.
Oh.
It's related to a recent travel experience that I had. I flew for the first time since this all happened to go see Abby's folks out in North Carolina. Flew American. It was not a completely full plane, but it was not a completely empty plane. Masks on the whole time, no beverage service. 2-hour flight to Charlotte, and then a little hop over to Greensboro. And it was fine, Sean. It was relatively normal. Security was good. They kept people distanced. In Charlotte, it definitely felt bustling and crowded, but for the most part, it was fine. We're a week in after that experience. We'll see what the end results end up being, but I feel fine so far. That being said, I did bring with me for the first time my Nintendo Switch on a trip. And I had just downloaded, literally right before we left the house, a game that I had heard a ton of good buzz about from gamers called Slay the Spire.
Yes! I talked about it last time.
Yeah, I know. I've heard a lot of good buzz from gamers, I know. Slay the Spire is real good, Sean, and it helps make...
incredible.
Yeah, and it helps make long flight times just disappear. And unfortunately, it's proven very bad for my sleep schedule because I will get into a run. So for folks who don't know, Slay the Spire is a deck-building dungeon crawl, would be the best way I would describe it.
It's a roguelike. The term is
also
roguelike
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's you have 4 different characters that you have access to, all of which play in different ways. You start off with a very basic deck, but as you beat enemies and go past encounters, you'll have a chance to add cards to your deck, remove cards from your deck, transform cards in your deck. It's possible you'll get negative cards added to your deck, curses or status effects that will make things a lot worse for you. There's a map laid out, and you often have choices of which direction you want to go. You can choose to... There's a risk-reward element, where if you battle harder enemies, you get better rewards, like relics. If you battle more basic enemies, you might get a card, or a potion, or some gold, or multiple of those different things. There are question mark rooms, which can turn into different encounters. It could be a big Colosseum fight, or it could be a cleric you stumble upon who removes a card from your deck. It could be any number of funky things that you run into there. There are rest sites, and these are also interesting decision points where you choose to either recover some amount of HP, because without relics or other things, there isn't natural healing built into the game. You have to kind of find it through potions or rest stops or whatever else. And HP can be tight in this game for sure. What's really cool about this is you have these different battles with monsters, and you see the intention of the monster. You can see it's going to attack you for 10 damage, or it's going to inflict some sort of negative status effect on you, or it's going to give itself block for the round, or it's going to split into 2 enemies. And you have to kind of respond and manage your hand based off of that. You have a certain amount of energy that you're allocated that you can do things to get more. I'm digging this one a lot, Sean. There's a lot of different modes of play. The characters all feel different and fun and unique. And it is a time suck for sure. You can, because a one good run of this is an hour and a half long. So, yeah, be prepared for it to take up some amount of time if you get into it. But for $25, I've definitely gotten my money's worth out of that game. If you have a Switch or a PC, Mac, or something like that, I strongly recommend Slay the Spire. I'm really digging it. It's the first game in a long time that's gotten me. Well, that's not true. I was going to say first game that's gotten me off of Rocket League, but no, Animal Crossing did that for a number of months, and now that's kind of gone onto the back burner. So yeah, Slay the Spire, Sean. It's definitely a good one.
Yeah, I have to force myself on an almost daily basis to stop playing it so I can go to my daily rewards in Magic the Gathering Arena.
Oh, interesting.
Because I have like no desire to play Magic right now. I've been playing Slay the Spire nonstop for since about a week before the last episode, so almost a month now. So I just edited something out. Alex was asking questions that technically I've seen online people consider spoilers. I've actually been watching YouTube videos of professional Slay the Spire players.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head. There's this one guy that does speed runs, but then he also will do he calls them over-explain runs, and he takes it's a 3-hour video, and he's going through all of his decision-making process. He has all of these Excel spreadsheets to break down what his deck does, and it's incredible. And every time I'm just wow, I didn't take into account any of the things he's been talking about up to this point. This game is incredible. It is.
Has it made you a better player?
Yeah, it's made me more conscious of certain things. I definitely spend more time planning my routes. You have to kind of be on the fly with the routes, because maybe you hit a particular boss, not a boss, but an elite monster that you weren't expecting, and it just hurt you too bad. And you really want to go this route with all of the question mark nodes, but now you have to branch off to rest. And man, when you rest to heal hit points instead of upgrading a card, it is such a feel bad moment.
Yeah.
Because there's few and far between. I played, okay, wow. I really enjoy, what's the robot dude? The defected?
The defect. Yeah.
The defect. Yeah. So he has this one card called Claws, and it does 3 damage, but every time you use it, all of the claws in your deck for the entirety of that particular combat gain +2 damage.
Yep.
I had a run last night where I beat the Act 3 boss. I had 7 claws in my deck.
Oh, wow.
And then I also had ways to get them out of the discard pile. So I had a 90 some point claw attack to defeat the final boss in Act 3. It was incredible. It was, oh my God. It is such a cracky game. It's just this little, these little, what's the, dopamine? I feel like it, you get these little dopamine
yeah.
bursts from you're cool, I got this really sweet relic that's going to make me slightly better. It's all these just incremental advantages that add up over the course of a run. Right. And it's like playing Pathfinder, the adventure card game, but abbreviated and truncated a bit, where you're getting that satisfaction of I've leveled up my character, I've improved my deck. It is incredible. Oh.
Yeah, and you thin a deck, or you get a card at the beginning that you try and build around, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
Sometimes you'll yeah. There's a lot of good moments in this game. It's so good.
Let's stop talking about Slay the Spire, because I can go on for a while.
Can we agree that would be a Boxcars winner if it was in board game form?
Oh, it's a 6. Yeah, it's a total 6.
Yeah. I agree.
I bought 5 or 6 other games on the Steam sale, the summer Steam sale, and I tried playing them, but I'm just nope, I'm going to keep playing Slay the Spire for now. So they're in my library waiting to go.
Fair enough. Well, hey, that's recent plays, sort of. Let's head on over to the news desk. All right, Sean, two chunks of news that I want to talk about. Yes, two.
Okay.
I wanted to mention something else as part of this. Let's see. We'll do the one that you know about first.
Okay, I'll just edit out the second one, so don't worry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the big announcement that came out a couple days before we recorded this, Stephen Bonacourt has stepped down as president of Stronghold Games, a press release from Stronghold Games. It makes it very clear in the subheadline, retirement has been in the making for years, future endeavors outlined. So I think they were trying to make it abundantly clear because I think they would know the questions are going to come up. Was Stephen forced out? What? They make it very clear, no, this is something he's been looking forward to and looking to do for a chunk of time. So, yeah, effective August 1st, Stephen Bonacourt, age of 59, spring chicken still, is going to be stepping down 11 years after he founded Stronghold Games, founded in 2009. If you'll remember, Stronghold was merged with Indie Board and Cards to form Indie Game Studios about 2 years ago. And he has served in the role of president of Stronghold Games still, and he's been the spokesperson for the combined companies because, hey, guess what? He's a fantastic speaker, right? He's a board game media personality. His rivalry with Tom Vassell and collaboration with Tom Vassell has been notable over the years. He is an unbelievably friendly guy. When I was at Gray Fox Games, I had booths near or next to Stronghold all the time, and he'd help you, talk to you. Fantastic gentleman, really friendly. There's a reason he was one of a kind, really one of a kind in the industry, and he's not going anywhere. To be clear, he's still going to be working on the podcast and still intends to connect with friends and family. And I'm sure you'll see him around when conventions resume. I would be stunned if he's not at least at a few of them. So, yeah, that and I'm not sure what this means for that company going forward. Stronghold obviously had done a lot of good work with Terraforming Mars. That's one that has continued to sell well and continued to hold up well. It was always a marvel to me, Sean, how many weeks in a row that game would be on the table, Terraforming Mars, at Dukes of Dice game night back when I was in Albuquerque. My guess is it still had been pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID, it's still, I would say 3 out of 4, weeks of the month, Dukes of Dice game night, Terraforming Mars would be out.
Yeah. So, and that's not the only game that Stronghold did. But of course, Gone Shown Clever and Doppelt So Clever both came out under that. They have some other roll and rights that have become a big thing of late. Meanwhile, Indie Board and Cards, best known for The Resistance and Coup, a couple of foundational, really, games in the hobby. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the combined companies going forward. I can't imagine how tough this is to navigate as a board game company. I will say when I was at Gray Fox, certainly our hobby distribution had been declining for a long period of time. And online sales were really a huge driver and really what was keeping us afloat. And it's possible that in all of this, because folks are looking to play more at home, I know my board game purchasing has not really slowed down, and not just because of the podcast. I've been looking to scoop up games for Abby and I to play. I've been looking to scoop up games to play. I just went out, mentioned the trip to North Carolina, Sean. I brought Cartographers, which I played in person after buying. And by the way, I would improve my score. I think it's a 4 or a 5, somewhere in between the two, having played it in person. It needs that. I played Senshi from our sponsor Arcane Wonders with them. We played a lot of Tichu. So the market's not going away, but I am curious. I'm curious. I don't have a good pulse exactly on how things are going inside a lot of these smaller publishers. Not that this is a small publisher. I'd say more mid-size, but yeah, medium for sure. I'm not sure what's going on, whether sales are up or down, or what the financial situation is because of all of this. But happy trails to Stephen Bonacourt. Obviously, as I mentioned, one of a kind.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I've had a lot of interactions with Stephen back when I was on the convention scene, and he's a super nice guy. He's, we've had him as a guest on the podcast. He's been known as the Podfather because was an ever-present guest on podcasts. And of course, he's still going to be doing his own podcast, the Board Game Insider podcast. I will say also that coming out of this, really cool news, Sydney Engelstein. I can't remember. Jeff Engelstein?
It's Engelstein. No, it's Engelstein.
Is it Steen? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, Sydney. She's been named as Stronghold's, I guess, head of development, I think.
Yep.
Which
Yes,
is really,
that's correct.
which is really cool. So because she helped, she was a co-designer with her dad, Jeff, on all of the Space Cadets games. I know they did, what was the Survive, not the original Survive, but I think it was like Survive Space or Survive.
There's Survive Escape from Atlantis is one they've done.
But I think that was the original. I know they worked on the redesign of that, but there was also a space retheme of it that they did. So I think that's really cool. And of course, more women in, in development and stuff in the hobby is fantastic. So
yeah. I was wondering. I was gonna bring that up next, and you beat me to the punch.
Oh, that was the second. Oh, it's related.
No, that wasn't the second. That wasn't the second thing. There's another second thing. Yeah. No, I know it's in the press release.
Oh, okay.
Congrats to Sydney. We've interacted several times at conventions. She's unbelievable, incredibly smart, really, really, really smart person. We'll do amazing things with Stronghold. So, sweet. So that is a look at that piece of news. Sean, I will mention this other piece of news, which is always my relationship with Stonemaier is an interesting one, right? So earlier this week, Jamie announced a new game called Pendulum. I'll go back into by the way, on the relational piece. I have, since the early days of the show, before knowing Jamie personally, had an unbelievable amount of respect for what Stonemaier does. Scythe is a 6, Viticulture's a 6. I enjoyed Tapestry more than most, perhaps. Charterstone I enjoyed. Really, there's only one game, I think, that maybe Euphoria too, but Euphoria in Between Two Cities that I haven't enjoyed. But we've talked about, and of course, talked through on the show, finished runner-up for a job at Stonemaier when there was one open. So, all that being said, still on good terms, still when game nights have been going on, been going to Jamie's game nights, as folks who listen to the show will know. So I will say this, Sean. There was an announcement of a game called Pendulum, which is a real-time, turnless worker placement game, and I'm only talking about things that are publicly available on the Stonemaier Games website at this point. Okay? Are we good?
Yeah.
We're good. Because I don't want Joe, Director of Communications and Head of Physical Security, to come over here and beat me with something.
To break your knees?
Yes, to break my knees. It's a game designed by Travis Jones. Gorgeous art, from what you can see from the box cover, by Robert Liesk, or Liask. I don't know how to pronounce that. 1 to 5 player game. Competitive worker placement time optimization game is how it's described. So, this is all publicly available information. I will just throw out, Sean, 2 things. One, I am very compromised on anything Stonemaier related, as we've discussed. 2, pre-order and shipping coming in August, so I think folks will learn a lot more about this game sooner rather than later. 3, I am cat-sitting for Jamie this weekend, and he may or may not have left me something to borrow. That's all I'll throw out there.
Okay.
Anyway, that's the news. Any commentary on the publicly available information that's been provided so far, Sean?
No. I will leave it at that, Alex. I will leave it at that.
Good. Please, Joe, please don't break my knees. So, there you go. So there you go, Sean. 2 pieces of news. Let's head on over for a quick word from our sponsors before getting into our big topic, 6 things we're streaming right now, something that has nothing to do with board games. Well, Sean, in these tricky times, our friends at Game Toppers want to let folks know that they're still open for business. They're still doing what they can to provide some at-home gaming goodness to help people upgrade their gaming experience while they're trapped at home. So Late Pledge Manager is open on Game Toppers. They have a lot of great bundles on their website, some of which might sell out, so check it out before it gets too late. Also, mats are going to be able to be shipped out relatively soon, so if that's something you've been looking for, hey, great. Thanks to Game Toppers for supporting the podcast and for supporting gamers looking to upgrade their gaming experience.
So go visit them at GameToppersLLC.com.
Sean, we have to come up with some sort of way to open up this ad for Aquatica coming soon from Arcane Wonders in October. I'm trying to think of a good way to do it. So here's my suggestion, Sean. So you let me know. I'll give one, you'll give one, and we'll go with a better one. So mine would just be going, under the sea, and then just get into it from there. What do you think?
Oh, no. Here's what I would do. I would do kind of the like, we're having a natural conversation and we just happen to be talking about our sponsor and one of their games.
Oh.
We'll go like this.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, Sean, how are you today?
Oh, I'm pretty, well, we don't know. Stop. Okay. Hey, Alex.
Hey, Sean.
Do you ever feel?
Am I supposed to not interrupt you? Sorry.
Do you ever feel as an American citizen that we don't get all of the good games over here? Like, we're just, nothing gets released over here, Alex. It is unfair.
The shelves are so empty all the time.
It is unfair. It is unpatriotic. And frankly, I'm just in shock that quality games aren't available here in the US, Alex. But thankfully, Arcane Wonders is bringing over a fantastic game like Aquatica, which, Alex, you've played.
I have played it.
But hasn't been available for American distribution as part of some KGB plot to keep gamers. Oh, wait, they're the GRU now, right? They're technically the GRU.
Oh.
So anyway, that would be my pitch to start it off, Alex.
I think that's fine. So, or we could just tell the great people about Aquatica, a hand management, engine building, card drafting game set under the sea with fantastic monsters and brave heroes as you battle with other players to conquer the sea. I have played this. I have enjoyed this, honestly. This is a game that has gotten the Dice Tower Seal of Excellence. This will be published under the Dice Tower Essentials line, and it's set to be available in the U.S. in October. And Sean, I think you'll actually like this one a lot. Yeah, no, I'm looking at it now, and the art looks fantastic. I love my card games, so I'm definitely excited for this to finally come over to the U.S. Yeah, finally. Ugh. Bunch of anti-American whatevers. Oh, boy. This is the most controversial ad. But anyway, if you want to find out more about Aquatica and all of the other amazing board games that Arcane Wonders has to offer, head on over to their website at arcanewonders.com. And remember, it's never a blunder when you go with Arcane Wonders. All right, Sean, this was your idea, and you were under some sort of strange impression that folks would be delighted, enchanted, entranced, charmed by hearing us not talk about board games for a chunk of time. Well, just talk about TV series. Yeah. Delighted, entranced, charmed. I never said anything to connote that level of enthusiasm. I said, oh, maybe people will be interested, which is like a very low level approval. Not even approval. We'll find out from the listener numbers on this. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. I do think, honestly, I do think people are listening to fewer podcasts right now. Because I know this is true for me. Yeah. There's less commutes. Like, right. Yeah. Yep. So for me personally, anyway, that's definitely been the case. I agree. So, Sean, we'll each do 3 shows we're streaming right now. What is your, did you rank your list? Did you create like a ranked list of things you'd recommend? No. Or these are just like show recommendations and the why behind them? Yeah, just show recommendations. So I feel like I'm streaming a lot of things at any given time. Like I've been working through Star Trek Voyager. This isn't one of them. I've been working through Star Trek Voyager, and you can only handle so many. I just think back to TV from the 90s when it's like everything was a 22 or 25 episode season, and it's like that you don't need that much TV. Like there's just so much fluff in there. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff I'm streaming at any given time because I just kind of bounce around. So one thing that I will recommend if you have Netflix is a reality show, which is very rare for me. I tend to not like reality shows. It's a reality show called Alone, and it's been on the Discovery Channel and something else. And I think this is one of the more recent seasons. Basically, they take 10-ish contestants who are survival experts, and they drop them off in some remote place, and they're all isolated from each other, and they have to survive. They have to build
shelter, they have to find food, they have to do all this stuff. And basically they have the option to tap out at any time. They have these satellite phones. They come by every week or so to do medical checks, but they don't provide them anything other than that. And so whoever taps out last is the winner. And so this season, there's only one season available on Netflix right now. This was up in the Arctic. It was up in Canada, I believe. And they went in, I think like September of whatever year it was. And so things are kind of cool. It's like 50 degrees and they're building their shelters. And like some people are building like all out cabins. Like it was really impressive. They're allowed to take 10 items from a pre-approved list of 40. And I was just totally enthralled by this. Again, not a reality show type person. I watch very few reality shows, especially anymore. And not even necessarily into like if I had to go on the show, I would have lasted like 6 hours. I would have been like, wait, there's no Wi-Fi? No, I'm out of here. Forget this. Like there's no way. Like you watch them do these things. Like they're setting traps, for small game. They're going fishing later on. Once the Arctic winter sets in, they're going ice fishing. And I'm in this high state of anxiety as they're walking on the ice. They're building like snowshoes to walk on the ice to distribute their weight. They're being attacked by freaking wolverines. And I mean, just all sorts of stuff. I put on the first episode because it was late at night. There was nothing I felt like watching, and I was intending to watch like 10 minutes of it and be done with it. And I wound up finishing it over the course of the next week. So it was pretty interesting. Pretty impressive people overall. The person I was rooting for he or she came very close to winning, but ultimately did not. I don't want to spoil anything. I will say probably the funniest thing, this one guy had managed to do very well with hunting. And he built this like 20-foot tall platform to keep the wolverines from getting to his meat. And he built a ladder. He built a ladder so he can get to the meat. And one night, he forgot to take the ladder down, and the wolverines used the ladder to get to the meat. And I was just like, oh, dude, come on, dude, come on. So anyway, that is Alone, which is available for streaming on Netflix.
Very good. Since you started off with a reality show recommendation, I too will start off with a reality show recommendation. This is a show that is available on Netflix. It's called The Circle. Sean, have you heard of The Circle?
I have, and it's sort of floating around as a possible option soonish.
So here's the thing. Abby and I, when we watch shows together, oftentimes will fall into a reality TV hole. So, for instance, she has been obsessed with the show Love Island. Whenever there's a new season of that, it will be something that we will watch and watch and watch and watch. The show is completely without meaning, and yet you get into the relationships, and I get it. We've also watched some really trashy ones, Temptation Island, and what's another one? Oh, Love is Blind, also on Netflix. All of which I would recommend if that's the kind of show you can get into. The Circle I might recommend as a gamery kind of relationship show. And the reason I make that recommendation, Sean, so here's the premise. And when I heard the premise, I wasn't interested in the show that much. But we put it on an episode, and then I was enthralled. This is a social media, social networking competition where you have, I think it's about 10 people at the start, might be fewer. And they're a mix of folks, different genders, ages, races. And in the circle, you communicate with other people based on their social media profile. The trick, though, is you don't have to be who you actually are. So you can come on, one person came on the show as their girlfriend, as an example. You had someone who was there as themselves, but also their mom was in the place with them, and they were kind of on and off communicating in different ways with people. So you have folks who are catfishing and you have folks who are genuinely themselves. And there's constant suspicion as to who's the catfish, who's not the catfish. You as the viewer know, but you see these interactions between folks who think they're communicating with someone that they're not, or possibly getting romantic. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. And it's ultimately a popularity contest because at different points in the show, they have various games and competitions, but you will rank people based on perceived popularity. And the top 2 people are influencers who will then come together and decide one person to boot off the show. Then that person who's booted off can choose to visit in person whoever they've been communicating with. The show is done in, say, an apartment building with everyone has their own apartments in there, but you don't know where other people are or can hear other people or anything like that. And then there are these rare moments where you get a glimpse into who you've really been talking to this whole time. It's fascinating. What I've heard, though, that's interesting is the U.S. season compared to, say, there's a UK edition of the show, a French version of the show. The U.S. edition is far less backstabby and interesting compared to the other seasons. I haven't tried them yet, but that is one I would give a watch, give a check out. I think you and Raquel and Mariah would all really enjoy that one. I think you'd find it pretty interesting, and it's funny. It's a really funny show.
So I misremembered because it sounded familiar, and so I thought it was something I had seen and was interested in. I actually watched the first half of the first episode.
Oh,
and turned it off.
You were done.
Yeah,
wow.
I was done.
Oh no.
That kind of trashy, and I really don't mean that in a pejorative sense. I really, even though it's kind of hard not to mean that,
sure,
the word trashy. Like there were definitely some reality shows that I would consider trashy in the past that drew me in and got me hooked right away. But that tends to be few and far between.
Yep.
So
fair enough. Okay. Well, anyway, I'd recommend it. Maybe not for you.
Okay. So the next thing that I will talk about, I've only watched 2 episodes because that's all that's out right now. This is available on HBO Max, and it is Perry Mason. Have you heard about this, Alex? Perry Mason?
I've heard of the classic Perry Mason, like the original Perry Mason. Is this a reboot of that? Now,
when you say the 1950s, 1960s Perry Mason, are you saying that's the original Perry Mason?
It may not actually be the original. It's certainly an earlier version or an older version of that.
Sure.
Yes.
And that's what I thought too. I remember watching, like, in reruns, obviously, because the show came out in the mid 50s and 60s. And I remember watching it black and white. It's this courtroom drama that I've probably had seen 10, 15 episodes throughout my childhood growing up, parts of them. And it was always, I will say this, never made me want to go into the practice of law. It was always this really dramatic courtroom proceeding where Perry Mason would always get this witness to trip up on the stand and admit that they were the murderer. Oh, big aha moment. Terrible questioning, all leading questions. None of it's following the rules of procedure, whatever. That's fine. I didn't care. I didn't care about the show. This show had no emotional connection to me whatsoever. And then I saw that HBO Max, the new HBO streaming service, was doing a new Perry Mason, with, is his name Matthew Rhys? I think he was the male lead on The Americans, which was an FX show about Soviet sleeper cells in the U.S. during the 80s. And I like The Americans quite a bit. And I like him. I think he's a great actor. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. But I was confused. Why is he in this new show? Why is he this hard-boiled detective? It's a noir show. It's not a courtroom drama. And it takes place in the 30s. And I was confused, and it was just eating me up inside. And I don't know why. It was really bugging me. And now I've learned that there were actually several Perry Mason movies in the 30s that are unconnected to the show, different actor. So there's one called The Case of the Curious Bride, Perry interrupts his vacation plans when an ex-girlfriend, now newly married, asks him to help her with murder and bigamy charges. And so I can't tell if these, I think he was like a private detective back in the 30s. And I'm sure this is probably based on some novels or short stories or something. And so now I'm trying to figure out why the heck did it turn into a courtroom drama where he's the attorney? Because I don't know. Anyway, what I will say is the show that's on HBO Max, whereas by the time this episode drops, the third episode of the show will have dropped, I believe. It's 1930s following Perry Mason as a private detective. It's actually a very gruesome show. It's really, really dark and gruesome. But Raquel and I have been watching. We really enjoy it. He is on the case of a murdered child. It was a ransom kidnapping gone wrong. That's all kind of revealed in the first couple minutes of the episode. So no spoilers there. It's got John Lithgow. I love John Lithgow. I think he's a fantastic actor. And he's the attorney on the show. Which is interesting because in the 50s, 60s show, Perry Mason had a private detective working for him who was an integral part of the show. It's very good. It's very dark. If you like the hard-boiled detective genre, if you like, noir style TV shows, movies, I would highly recommend checking out Perry Mason.
Very good. Sean, a bit of news tied to my recommendation, which actually came out in between the time that we decided to do this, and no, it didn't actually come out, but in approximately a recent period of time. It's a series on Hulu called The Great. Have you seen or heard of this one, Sean?
It's called The Great?
It's called The Great.
I have not.
So this is on Hulu. This is a 10-episode. It was originally put out there, I think, as a mini-series, but it has since, within the past day, been renewed for a second season.
Oh.
This is a comedy drama. I would say it's a blend of both, about Catherine the Great, who would become Empress of Russia, but at the time of the show has not become Empress of Russia. She is from a different part of Europe, I think Germany, and married into the family, married Peter, not Peter the Great, but Peter the Great's son. Also Peter, but maybe not so great, as you'll find out through the course of this show. Elle Fanning plays Catherine the Great. Not the Great yet, but just Catherine. And Nicholas Hoult, I don't know if you know Nicholas Hoult much. I did not prior to this show, but Nicholas Hoult plays Peter, her husband. And I should mention, by the way, if you pull up pictures of Nicholas Hoult is the male version of Abby. So it was a little weird watching this show because I would be like, wow, strange. Anyway, that's her celebrity doppelganger is Nicholas Hoult. And basically it's just kind of profiling her attempted rise to power. And it is hilarious. Nicholas Hoult is brilliant in the show. It is really well done, well worth watching. We binged through that thing in a very short amount of time. It has been renewed for season 2, which we're very happy about. I hope Nicholas Hoult makes a similarly sized appearance in that one because he was unbelievable to watch in this. I would strongly recommend The Great. Again, comedy drama, but more tilted towards the comedic side than the dramatic side when all is said and done. So still moments of drama to it, but mostly absurd comedy. Really fun show. I would strongly recommend this one. So that's The Great, my second recommendation.
Cool. All right. Well, my last one, but my last one's also on Netflix, and it is The Crown, which tells the story of Queen Elizabeth over several seasons. Queen Elizabeth II. Have you seen The Crown, Alex?
I have not seen The Crown. I've heard it's good.
It is quite good. So seasons 1 and 2 have currently season 3 is what I'm watching now, the most recent season. And seasons 1 and 2, Queen Elizabeth II is played by Claire Foy, and her husband, Prince Philip, is played by Matt. Sorry, Doctor Who fans. One of the doctors, Matt Smith. Matthew Smith? Matt Smith?
You're asking the wrong person.
Blonde British actor who was one of the doctors. I've seen very little Doctor Who, so I apologize, everybody. And what's interesting, season 3, so the first 2 seasons take place between like the late, or maybe it's late 40s, early 50s to early 60s. Season 3 is now in like 1967. So they decided to age everyone up, not with makeup, not with any CGI or anything like that, but with a complete recast of the main characters.
Oh,
so
interesting.
New Queen Elizabeth, new Prince Philip, Prince Margaret is now being played by Helena Bonham Carter. Prince Philip is being played by, I can't remember his name, but he was Edmure Tully in Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Catelyn Stark's brother, who can't fire an arrow to save his life. And, I can't remember his name. And then the Queen is played by a wonderful British character actor, and I cannot remember her name either because I'm terrible. She was in Hot Fuzz. She's in Fleabag. Oh man, can't talk about Fleabag on this show. Fleabag is super good. Have you seen Fleabag, Alex?
My mom has strongly recommended Fleabag.
Okay, don't talk to Fleabag with your mom, or don't talk about Fleabag with your mom.
Okay, but she recommended it.
That's fine. Watch it. I suggest watching it. Just don't talk to her about the show. Because there will be some. Watch the first episode and then tell me if you want to have conversations about it with your mom.
So wait, can I? There's another story that came up about this in North Carolina, which will be very tough to get into on a Dice Tower Network podcast. But there's a movie on Netflix that's one of their top trending movies called 365 Days. By the way, this is not a recommendation for a movie to watch. I will just talk about the plot, and then I will talk about how the movie is described. It's a mob boss whose father is killed. He's shot. He takes a bullet at the same time. He sees a beautiful woman in this moment. 5 years later, he finds this beautiful woman vacationing in Italy, or someone who looks like her, and kidnaps her and basically tells her she has 365 days to fall in love with him. So that's the basic core plot. Imagine, though, it has elements of 50 Shades of Grey.
Okay.
And has been described as a Polish erotic thriller, where the languages are Italian, Polish, and English. Now imagine watching that with Abby's parents.
Oh, my.
Yeah, well, we didn't watch the whole thing. But we did watch enough of it. So anyway... 365 Days, now streaming on Netflix. Do not recommend, especially if you're watching with your parents or in-laws. So there you go.
Awkward.
Anything more you want to say about The Crown?
Yeah, I barely got started.
Oh, you hadn't even gotten into it yet? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The actress who plays Queen Elizabeth II in the 3rd season is Olivia Colman. And then Prince Philip is played by Tobias Menzies, which I don't think I ever actually knew his name. So I didn't forget it because I didn't know it to begin with. But it's really interesting. I have always kind of been a weird Anglophile / royal enthusiast of sorts, not anything hardcore. Eliza is, she has the same birth date as Queen Elizabeth. And there was even discussion about changing her name from Eliza to Elizabeth on that day, and Raquel vetoed me. I really enjoyed the show. I really enjoyed seasons 1 and 2. I really enjoy the history aspect of it. There's some artistic license that's taken, but Raquel and I would watch season 2 together. And then very often we would kind of look up, like, did that really happen? How did that really happen? And so it was a nice little history enrichment that would occur along with this really, really well acted, well produced, great show. Season 3, Raquel watched the first episode and was like, I'm out. I can't, the whole change in cast was too much for her. And she's just like, I just lost interest. So I've continued to watch it. I'm almost done with season 3, and it's quite interesting, quite good. The cast is great. It reminds me a little bit. Did you finish watching The Wire, Alex?
Oh, yes.
The Wire, which is one of my favorite television shows of all time, they do a thing where they don't change the cast, but season to season is so different. And it was most jarring going from season 1 to season 2. And a lot of people I know have told me that they couldn't get through season 2 because it was a wildly different show in some respects. And season 2 is actually my favorite. Season 2 tends to be the least favorite of a lot of people who have watched The Wire, but season 2 is my favorite. So it's certainly jarring. It was certainly jarring. And The Crown, it actually has, I believe, seasons 4 and 5 picked up by Netflix. So plenty of The Crown to get through, but now on my own, since I think Raquel is done. So that's okay. The Crown.
The Crown. Sean, I will give you another recommendation for a show that you may not even heard of, and it's streaming, but I would say this very loosely meets the definition of on a streaming service.
Okay.
This is available for free on YouTube in the US. It is a series called Taskmaster. Have you heard of Taskmaster, Sean?
I have not.
Okay. This is a British show, and it is a game show of sorts. Basically, each season, or series as they call it over in the UK, they bring on 5 different British comedians. Greg Davies, big tall gentleman, 6'7", 6'8", who's I think on the West Enders or other show. He has some amount of fame over there. And a gentleman named Alex Horn are the main hosts, and they are given tasks that they need to complete. So the basic format of the show is as follows. At the start of the show, you are required to bring in some sort of a prize. Bring in your most beautiful item. Bring in your most valuable item. So, for instance, for most valuable item, someone brought in a ring valued at 4,000 pounds. Someone brought in a fake diamond ring valued at actually 12 pounds. Someone brought in a blank check, which would be in the hands of whoever won at the end of the show. Basically, these are the contestants themselves bring in the prizes, and then Greg Davies, the Taskmaster, grades them. So most valuable item, great, you get 5 points. Next, 4, 3, 2, 1, so on and so forth. Then there are the tasks themselves, which are pre-recorded for the most part, save for one at the very end of the show. And they can be random things like, there's a watermelon in the lab. Enter the lab. From the moment you open the lab door, you have 1 minute to eat as much watermelon as possible. Your time, go in there and get it done. And how you get it done can vary. So, for instance, with the watermelon task, someone pre-prepared, got a carving knife, assuming that the watermelon wouldn't be sliced up and went in there, and then scooped up very gingerly some of it. One person came in there and simply realized they didn't have a knife, spent a ton of time going back to the kitchen, grabbing a knife, and had taken a bite of watermelon by the time expired. The other 3, in various forms, threw the watermelon on the ground or smashed it against the table and then just went to town on the thing. One of the tasks on the most recent episode we watched was make this Swedish person blush. Whoever makes him blush the deepest wins the most points, and they rank them. Or paint a picture of a horse while riding a horse. Or move this boulder as far away from this point as possible. They're insane and really funny. And some of the lateral thinking that folks do to try and bend the rules or get around it. You get a sense of personalities of the different comedians over the course of the seasons. Most series last 8 episodes. I think the one that we're watching now is 10. I don't have any specific recommendation for a series to start on. Honestly, you could start from series 1, and it would be great. Series 4, if you've watched Great British Baking Show. 2 of the kind of comedian folks who help with that, Noel and can't remember the other one's name, but are part of that show. It's really well done. It's addicting, a nice, shining, bright light, and very gamery, too, I might mention, because it's, of course, a competition. So I strongly recommend Taskmaster. I'm already thinking of when COVID wraps up, thinking of some way to throw a Taskmaster party of some kind, because some of the tasks they come up with would lend themselves really well to it. So that's Taskmaster, the final recommendation I have, Sean.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'd give that a watch, at least give it a shot.
Series 1, Episode 1.
I'll just say real quick, and then we'll wrap this up. I just found out that there are release dates for new seasons of 2 shows that I've enjoyed quite a bit, both superhero shows. Umbrella Academy Season 2 comes out at the end of July, Did you watch season 1 of Umbrella Academy, Alex?
I've not seen it at all. No.
Ooh, it's really good. It's based on a graphic novel by Gerard Way, who's is he the lead singer of My Chemical Romance? Really good. This kind of like dysfunctional superhero family, adopted family, really, really stellar. And then The Boys season 2, I believe, comes out in September, and they just released a couple minutes of footage. And The Boys is actually about this group that's trying to kill superheroes, but because the superheroes are actually the bad guys.
I really want to watch this. This is a top of list to watch next.
Watch The Boys. Did you watch Watchmen on HBO?
I have not watched that. I don't have HBO, so.
Okay. Well, okay. Watch The Boys. Well, The Boys was excellent. Really, really excellent. I've read all of the graphic novels, so I'm a big The Boys fan. It's good. It's very good. Very graphic. Very, So.
All right.
All right.
Well, I told Abby this was going to be under an hour, and I definitely lied on that front. So
we're close.
There you go.
We're close.
No, we're not. We're absolutely not
20
close.
minutes. You're wrong by 30%, Alex.
Okay, well, great. You can explain that to her, as well as your explanation of this other review game we have in the pipeline, which I think you intentionally got to cause distress in the Goldsmith Clark household.
I told you, I don't want to talk about the game right now. I don't want to talk about it off air. Let's save it all for the review when we do it.
All right.
At some point.
No, your wish is my command. So anyway, hey, we made it through this episode, Sean. Not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad for an episode 228B. Please stand by. Thanks to our awesome guild member, Sean Ramirez, for that excellent title suggestion.
A very inactive guild member for the most part, I might mention.
We should dub this Sean Ramirez as the true name father. Take that, Steve O'Rourke.
Don't do that. Don't take that away from Steve. That's all he has.
The name Allfather. How about that?
You're the Allfather? You're everyone's dad?
The name Allfather.
Oh, jeez.
It's fine. All right. Well, that's going to do it. Thanks everybody for being flexible. Apparently my tongue isn't flexible enough to say the words correctly. So until next time, this is Sean.
And also Alex.
And Duke you later, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dukes of Dice. Today's episode was recorded in the Duchy on July 3rd, 2020. The Dukes of Dice are a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. For other great board gaming podcasts, check out dicetowernetwork.com. And for all latest in the Duchy, go to dukesofdice.com. Find us on Twitter @dukesofdice. Join us on Facebook or subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Dukes of Dice are a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. For other great board gaming podcasts, check out dicetowernetwork.com. And for all the latest on the Dukes of Dice, go to dukesofdice.com. Find us on Twitter @dukesofdice. Join in conversations on our Board Game Geek Guild. Find us on Facebook or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks to our sponsors, Arcane Wonders and Game Toppers, LLC. You can find out more about Arcane Wonders fine games at arcanewonders.com or learn all you need to know about Game Toppers at gametoppersllc.com. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Until then, game on!